All right, everybody, welcome back. Good morning. Um, Coming off a pretty cold week, week 16. So as a recap, we went 5-14, and we lost a lot of units on that. So one of our worst weeks, our most losses in one week. It was a very strange Christmas holiday football schedule. Of some of the games, it didn't exactly go even according to the lines that Vegas had put out with the spreads they had. But um, just to recap the scoreboard, Jamie's in the lead. He's got 56 wins. Stone is right behind him with 39, and then myself with 27. With that, I started kind of thinking in my head: is Jamie mathematically the winner? Is with the position we're in now, only a couple weeks left, and so what it seems like if you got 4 right this week, which would be 100% me and Stone, and then 6 right the next week, 10, 18, 28. There's still time to catch him. You'd have to get every single thing right the whole rest of the season,
And he'd have to get everything wrong.
and he'd have to get almost everything wrong. But it's not locked in yet, we'll say. So with that, for the 16th week in a row, I'll pass it over to Jamie for opening remarks as he is leading the league.
Yeah, last week was not great even for me. I think I was 4-10. I think so. Across the board, we were not good. Again, I'm going to put it out. If we're bad, that we're going to bounce back. We're going to have a great week this week. I think there's a good quote: "When you're up, it's never as good as it seems, and when you're down, you never think you're going to be up again. But life goes on." So we're going to get back at it this week. I got some stuff I want to put out there on the board when we get to these games and player picks, some juicy stuff. So I can't wait for this week and the rest of the season. Happy New Year's, y'all.
Yeah. Stone, how about yourself? You got anything you want to add?
No, I just said I went 0 and 5 last week, which is completely terrible. I will say one of the picks I made on the podcast, the line changed, and when I actually made the bet, I did win it. It was the Miami Dallas game. I think it changed. It was -2, and then it changed to like -1. When I made the bet, it was -1, so I ended up winning that for my actual wallet. But for the podcast, it's well, I guess I'll take the push, but whatever.
This is for our listeners, man.
Hey, I'm just saying I did win one in my book. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I've been hitting a certain strategy the last couple of weeks. I'm sitting at an actual better percentage than I am for the entire season. Um, but I think kind of coming down the home stretch, I'm going to switch it up just a tad this week. I feel like feel like I'm trying too hard, and I feel like I got a good pulse on a couple things that not every time I've said that this season it's been an absolute lie. But anyway, with that, let's go ahead and pivot over to the game picks. This will be week 17. With week 17 for the game side, we all only have 2 picks, and it'll go Jamie, myself,
I
and
think I
then
have
Stone.
3.
You have 3?
Yeah,
Didn't he have 4 last week?
I
He
had
can
4
only lose.
last week. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. But because one of them pushed, it only looked like yeah, you're right.
Update for the next spreadsheet. Add a push.
Yeah,
Feature.
there's a couple things on here that some of the numbers aren't lining up perfectly because we have, I think, 3 or 4 pushes, and it doesn't. Anyway, some work needs to be put in. Um, with that though, since you lost those 3, you still have the least amount of units. You're still last. But with
That's fine.
that,
I deserve the win.
okay. So with that, Jamie, you're first whenever you're ready.
First, even though I only got 1 out of 3 picks right. So obviously my game strategy is not the best. When it comes to player props, lean to me. Game strategy, take this with a grain of salt. I saw this one and I thought this was a pretty good game to pick. This might be my only winner this week. Rams -6 versus the Giants at -108 because it's at the Giants. I think the Rams are rolling. A touchdown doesn't seem too far out of reach. I mean, this is the kind of the same line they've had for the last couple of weeks, and I think they've covered it every time. So, Giants are terrible. There's no reason for them to win this game, besides your New York spite. But
Mm-hmm.
so
they got a little scrappy last week.
They did.
Kept the game close. It wasn't supposed to be that close. So,
Could happen again. We'll see.
All right, my first pick this week is a team. What teams I think are just trending in different directions. So I'm going Green Bay money line against the Vikings, and that is minus 105. The line is actually +1 on their side. I think when it gets to plus 1.5 or +2, if it does, that's when you can get a positive number on that. Jordan Love, he's been throwing touchdowns every single week. The Vikings have been in a quarterback carousel ever since Cousins was down. They've played well. They've played scrappy. But if Green Bay wins the next 2 games, their chances of making the playoffs are like 97 or 98%. I'm sure you could say the same for Minnesota, but they just don't seem to be tracking at the same speed that Green Bay's with. So I'll take money line on that. Yep, and I'll stand by.
Yeah, I think it's always a wise decision to bet against a fresh QB coming out, with no experience. Jaron Hall, limited, I should say.
All right, for my pick, I did have the Rams -6 on my list, but I'm gonna have to pivot from that. But I'm gonna take Houston -4 at -110. They're playing at home against the Titans. CJ Stroud's coming back. They're still in the playoff hunt. I think now is a great time for CJ Stroud to start getting hot again and pushing for those playoffs. So
I think
way high for that division, which is
True,
going to be
yep.
something to keep an eye on. Jamie, what were you saying?
early in the year we faded the Titans, and I jumped on Derrick Henry like 2 weeks ago. I agree, fade the Titans again. They're terrible.
All right, back to Jamie for pick number 2.
I really wanted to get a Commanders pick in here, but I'm going to go with the Lions Cowboys over on the points total. It's 52.5. It's a little high, but that's at -108. I was looking at the stats, and the Cowboys defense is like 25th or higher for basically every defensive category the last 4 weeks. There's cracks that are showing in that defensive armor, and I don't think they're going to be fixed against the Lions team that can do anything they want. They can run the ball, they can power run it, they can finesse run it, they can throw the ball. They got a tight, they got wide receivers. This is going to be a shootout. I'm not saying they're going to stop the Cowboys, which I hope they don't because it's a play into the over. Yeah.
I like it. Detroit gives up a lot of points, but they're so willing to score a lot of points. Highest number of the week, though, I think, at 52.5. Yep. So with that, I'm going to go another team kind of pushing, hot team. I'm going Tampa Bay -2.5. That's against New Orleans. They're -110. I faded them the last 2 weeks thinking they would just crash back down to earth, and they haven't. And so maybe it's time for me to take my medicine and go lay the 2.5 with Tampa. Baker looks good. The wide receivers look good, even though they're older as well. They run the ball really well with White. New Orleans has had trouble scoring. I think if it comes down to a 1-score game, I'm thinking Tampa Bay's offense is going to get that score, and New Orleans is not. -2.5 doesn't scare me. So that's where I'm at with my 2 picks.
Yeah,
I amazingly got sniped again on that.
Yeah, zero faith in Derek Carr. I mean, his own team hates him. It's never a good thing. Never a good thing.
All right, sniped twice. I guess that's what I get for going last and doing so terrible last week. But this week, or this next pick, I'm kind of gonna take a page from Connor's book. He didn't do it this week, but I'm gonna try and get some units back. I'm gonna take Las Vegas money line at +154. Las Vegas, they're on fire. They're still in contention for the division technically, and they're also fighting for playoffs. They're playing hard for their coach. I think there's a chance he's the Raiders coach next year again, and I think Colts kind of been on a downslope. They lost to the Falcons last week. It's hard to come back.
That's
Yeah, that's all I have to say for that.
no explanation needed. You lose to the Falcons. That's bad. That's really bad.
All right, and then I guess going to my fifth pick that I never thought I would have to even. I didn't even have a fifth pick. I'm gonna take Baltimore minus 3.5 at home. Well, let me pull up the line for that. Minus 102. Um, Coming off a huge victory against the 49ers. Playing for the number one seed at home. I think it will be a big game, and Lamar Jackson will continue the MVP race, or winning the MVP race in this game.
I agree. I think Lamar's on track, and yeah, fire.
He's a monster. Normally, I'd say, there was a stat we pulled up early in the season. Teams after playing the 49ers generally lose because the physicality, but I think Baltimore just destroyed the 49ers so bad they're not even going to at this game. And they do great at home. So I think that's an excellent fifth pick.
Yeah, I think this hasn't been our strong suit this side of the board. And so maybe this week we get a couple wins here. Did you have any honorable mentions, Jamie? Stone said he got down to his fifth pick. I'm sure that's all his honorable mention.
I just wanted to sprinkle this one in. Had to get to it. The 49ers Commanders total is 49.5. Mm-hmm. You're telling the Lions and the Cowboys, the highest line, is only 3 points higher than the Commanders. And this might be because they think Jacoby Brissett's playing. Friday, he said he had hamstring, and this is the juice, is that the rumor mill is that he has made up an injury because he's come in and gone 5 for 5 for 5 TDs on drives. And now they're going to be like, hey, you can start against the 49ers. And he's like, this is a contract year. Why would I play against the 49ers and screw up my amazing stats that will get me $30 million a year? So there's rumor mill is he made up an injury so he doesn't have to play. If he doesn't play, Hal has looked really bad, and I think that's due to all the hits. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where this point total is coming from.
Yeah, I like that one. The only honorable mention I had was also related to the points, and that was the over 38 Atlanta-Chicago. Two teams that have to play well to get in the playoffs, both of them. Last week, the Falcons played really well. They've been playing well, except for Ritter's terrible quarterback. And then Fields is kind of hitting his stride right now like he does at the end of every season. 38 points just seems low. One of the lower numbers. I know that the Chicago defense has been playing really well, but 38 does not scare me with those two teams that I think are going to throw everything they have at it and really are just scraping to get some of that percent back on those playoff chances. But that was my third. That's it. All right, let's move on to the player pick. So for this, Jamie will be first. He has 6. I'll be second with 2. Stone will be third with 2 as well. And so, Jamie, whenever you're ready.
This is the one I would sprint to the board if there's a board to put this up. Is McCaffrey over 85.5 rushing yards? I mean, I don't think a whole lot needs to be said. It's minus 115, by the way. Mm-hmm. Washington just gave up 95 yards to Breece Hall, who hasn't had more than 50 yards since week 5. McCaffrey could put up in half, and I think after Purdy's showing last week, they want to come out and gun the ball a lot. Like this is going to be just run it, get this game over with, get the W, and get out of there. So this one feels like an easy one.
Yep, starting out with the running backs again for Jamie. I'm going to have to get some postseason numbers on all these running back picks for you. All right, so I'm going to kind of bring up a topic, make a pick, and then you guys might want to chime in on this one. Probably the hottest news story of the week, the shady business happening with Russell Wilson. He's played bad for 2 weeks, but they're kind of like manipulating him to like do things that I think is really shady business. With that, the pick I'm going to pick is Stidham over 195.5 passing. They're still in this. They do I think it's bad business? Do I think they've been doing some shady stuff all season, getting rid of some guys, some veterans? Yes. Has it worked out for them? Also, you could say yes, they had a pretty good win streak there. Losing to the Patriots is devastating. The way they did, and then the way everyone played and stuff. But Stidham started 2 games last year, played 2 full games, broke 200 both times. And I'm expecting that the team comes out and wants to still make the playoffs and get an extra game check, and they're not out of it. They could increase their chances to like 20 some percent with 2 wins. So with that, I'm taking Stidham over 195.5. Thoughts?
I would say I don't think he's necessarily played bad. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and like 250 yards last week. I don't think it's bad business. I think it's opposite. I think it's good business. His contract has an injury guarantee, so if he got injured these last couple weeks, they will be forced to pay him extra dollars that they won't when they cut him. So it is 100% a business's decision. I mean, in the NFL is a business. Is it shitty? Absolutely, 100%. Sean Payton is making him the fall guy when it's the whole team.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have much of a run game to speak of. So he has been way better than he was last year. But I just think it was a terrible contract. It was a terrible trade, and they just want to get out of it as soon as possible.
I think the whole situation is shady, but NFL is a business. It's even more crazy that they told him that they were going to do this on the bye week after they had just beat the Chiefs and were on a winning streak as well. I think I don't know, it's a whole situation's crazy, and I think any team out there when Russell Wilson, when he gets cut, I think every team that needs a quarterback bad, like the Falcons or some other teams that just have terrible quarterback play, are going to be falling over themselves to try and sign Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I think that's the shady business part is the fact that they already approached him earlier in the season and said if you don't move this date, and then he does move the date so he can keep playing and keep proving himself and helping out his team, and then it happens. If it just happened, to say authentically, fine, that's fine business. But it just seems like it's been like they've been trying to manipulate him a little. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
just
Well,
my take on it. But
after the bye week, they beat the Bills, they beat the Broncos or the Vikings, and then they beat the Browns 3 games in a row after the bye week. After they told them, "Hey, we're gonna bench you if you don't give up the contract we signed." Uh, I don't know.
yeah,
It's
it just doesn't feel right.
The injury guarantee they'd want removed.
yeah.
They didn't say anything else about it. It's just if he injured, we have to pay you. That's what they didn't want to do. Is he gets injured these last 2 games, and then you're paying this huge amount of money for a guy that's not even playing. It's one thing if he's playing, but if he's not even playing and you have to pay that amount of money, that's where the business comes in. It sucks, but that's what it is. And
Yeah.
I'm going to relate it to another Russell Westbrook. He is like a decent QB. It's just not for that amount of money. He's going to get cut, and then he's going to sign with someone 20 million, and then that team will be good because he's better at 20 million than he is at like 54 or whatever he's making this year. Something 42 and a half. Sorry. He made 57 last year, 42 and a half this year. So it's just at that amount of money, he's a terrible quarterback.
So
But-
I agree with that, yes. But what are the Broncos gonna do next year? They don't have a good draft pick.
Yeah.
There's no really huge free agent court. Maybe Kirk Cousins can be out there, but like I feel like whatever they're doing next year is they're gonna be worse than they are this year. I think that's just a given at this point. I think Russell Wilson, yeah, you overpaid him. Yeah, you gave him this huge contract. But I think you're not gonna get better than him at this point. And maybe try and build some other areas of the team and work with Russell Wilson and maybe do better next year. But I don't know. I feel like the quarterback market, you can't be getting rid of quarterbacks when there's such a valuable commodity in the league right now. We've seen it some terrible quarterback play, and I think it's just going to get worse without Russell Wilson for them.
I agree with that. I would say counter argument is the best quarterback in the league right now was sitting on his couch 7 weeks ago in Joe Flacco. So
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody was calling him, but yeah, I agree. It feels shady. It feels like he's just a little bit of a scapegoat. Certainly don't think he's worth the money that they're paying him, and that's part of the deal. But I also think they were the orchestration of this, not Peyton, but everyone else. They can't just you shouldn't be able to just go back on all your stuff. And I just think that the way it's been kind of felt manipulated isn't kind of feels weird to me. But I digress. We'll go over to Stone for his first player pick this week.
All right. I'm gonna go with the Commanders in a 49ers game, and I'm gonna go with the revenge game narrative with Chase Young getting over
Yes.
0.75 sacks at -110. The Commanders are top 2 in sacks given up this year. If it's Brissett, if it's Howell, doesn't matter. O-line's garbage. Chase Young, I think he's going to try and get a sack this game, especially against his old team that traded him away. Yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah,
man.
I have this.
Oh, you had this one too, Jamie. He broke contain last week, and Lamar ran right behind him. And I know that we don't have Lamar on the Commanders, but he had another one of those plays where he's like, I'm going to get a sack. Went one way. Lamar goes the other way. Anyway, didn't work out. I love this pick. I love it. Chase Young jersey in the back still. He's already hit his over on sacks, but yeah, love this pick. Jamie, you're up.
Echo the sentiment. Love the pick. Had it myself. Going back to my running backs, you know how I'd like them. DeAndre Swift over 69.5 rushing yards at -115. I think I beat this horse to death, but I'm going to beat it again. Cards have the worst run defense now. They have overtaken the Bengals and whoever else is at the bottom. Swift has gotten a lot of carries the last couple games, and the passing attack for the Eagles hasn't looked good. The rushing attack has. It's one thing that's working. So I think again, same kind of line as the 49ers and Commanders. Run the ball, get the win, get out of there.
Yeah, I like that. I've been, what I've been doing on my own personal card. I have had a lot of Gainwell on there. His numbers are very low. It seems like they run the ball enough to get him some action. If he gets outside that, he normally could take like a one reception, 2 carries to get past his numbers. I like Swift a lot, but Gainwell's the guy I've been putting on my own personal card, and it's been working out pretty good. So I'm going to go back to the well on this one. I'm going to go Lamar over 1.5 TDs at plus 125. He's hit this 3 out of the last 5 games. I think that if Miami comes out and it turns into what could be, a shootout or a throwout or whatever you're going to look at it, this could hit. He seems to always be in position to even hit this like in the first half or, he's playing at Stone said it. He's playing at the MVP level. He's probably deserving of the MVP. Getting 2 touchdowns on your way in to try to secure the MVP at plus money is something that I would lock in 100% of the time. So I'm going to go Lamar over 1.5 TDs. Yep, and that's my last pick. So Stone.
All right, my last pick was a sack total against the second worst team giving up sacks. My next one will be against the worst team giving up sacks with Aaron Donald over 0.25 sacks at -115. I took this line last week. I took it the week before. Last week I lost it, but I've had some pretty good success against the Giants in sacks, and I think Aaron Donald won the defensive MVP several times. He's their best pass rusher. 0.25, that's just a half sack again. And I'm going full sack this week, so we'll see.
Dang, I love it.
any type of pattern you can jump on. You look at my running backs. If you're winning 60% of the time, that's a fantastic number for bets.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see a pattern, jump on it. I like it. Did not have this one on my card, but that is some good research.
I had. All right, Jamie, you got 4 in a row. This is where you do the damage. So, I'm ready.
Yeah, lay it on you. Here we go. Cooper Kupp over 68.5 receiving yards at -115. The Giants have the 20th ranked pass D, giving up 6 most receptions, 11th most yards to wide receiver. And he might be considered the wide receiver 2 now. He's not even getting the wide receiver 1 coverage like he is. His receptions number, by the way, is at 5.5, but it's at -145 on DraftKings. I would have took that, but that's a lot of chalk. So I'm not doing that. We're not last week. Jefferson, so close, a couple times. Moving back to my running backs, Rashard White over 62.5 rushing yards at -115. The Saints just gave up 104 to Kyren Williams last game. And they have the 25th ranked rush defense. I think, you said Tampa Bay's in a roll. They like to lean on Rashard, so I see them leaning again.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, for my last running back pick, which, again, this one I looked at and I kind of thought this is very low, but Jahmyr Gibbs over 50.5 rushing yards. I couldn't believe that one at -115. So I know the Cowboys are a good defense normally, but I touched on this earlier. They're 19th against the run. The weakness of the defense is against the run, and Detroit can hit them with the power running game. And Jahmyr's hit this line a couple times last couple games. He doesn't need 20 carries like a lot of these other guys. He gets 11, he gets 10, and can get it done. So I can't believe that line.
Mm-hmm.
And my final one is going to be going to the Vikings, but not who you think. Jaren Hall, the QB, 7.5 rushing yards at -115.
Say that number one more time.
27.5
Mm-hmm.
at -15. Green Bay's given up 382 rushing yards to QBs. That's the 4th most in the league. As our running QB, his one of his first games, if you don't see your first read, you generally tuck the ball and run.
Yeah. Do you think his injury and how that went down last time is going to kind of keep him in there? Got smacked in the head pretty hard.
I mean, he could just slide,
Yeah, you're right. He could just get down, not take the hits, but yeah. All right, that's good. Stone, did you have any honorable mentions on your?
Going into the week, I liked Justin Jefferson's line, but then they said Nick Mullins wasn't going to start. Nick Mullins was just chucking it up for Jefferson, and Jefferson was
No doubt
going up and getting it. Jaren Hall, I don't think he's played with Justin Jefferson yet. I assume he's just going to do the same thing, but I thought with Nick Mullins, it was more of a better line, I thought. But yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jamie.
I think part of it was they had Jordan Addison and Hawkinson, which really was helping the line out. I think in the second half, once they went down, he didn't really have a choice but to chuck it to Justin Jefferson. No one else is getting open. So if they're back this game, it might change things. But if they're not, it's going to be chuck it to Jefferson's down there somewhere, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw. I'm sure we've all seen the last play, the last 4th interception he had, where they have like a view of the field from his perspective, and there's a guy on the left wide open with his hands up, and he just throws it to like 60. Oh man, yeah, Justin Jefferson. I thought you were gonna hit both those lines last week, Jamie, but it didn't go down like that.
Down. That's why he threw it. Is that 4th down he chucked it up, and Justin Jefferson came down.
Oh yeah,
and he's like, "Do that. Surely he'll get this."
He'll have to get this one. Yeah, I only had one honorable mention. It's in my notes. It doesn't actually have a line yet. Just a player I like that I'm going to watch the game because I think over 38 is pretty low for Chicago. But Montez Sweat is on a absolute monster path this season. He's leading the Commanders and the Bears in sacks. I think he's got like 8 on each or something like that. I can't remember. I don't necessarily have it in my notes, but he's leading both teams in sacks. Grabbing him when they have to win to make the playoffs, and they have to have some other things break out for him. But player I like and having a monster season, grabbing him on his sack number, something I'm going to be doing every week until they stop playing. Sweet. So that's going to kind of close us out for the picks this week. A few less than last week. We had a lot of picks, 19 picks. With great power comes great responsibility. We didn't really handle it as well as we could have. But with that, we'll pivot over to the touchdown parlay. I'm pretty sure Chuba Hubbard did not have a touchdown last week.
He had a terrible week, so that my whole line.
So the good news is we have 2 more weeks to hit this before we go into negative numbers for the season because we've hit it twice. The bad news is I think we're running out of ballers. I think that that it's like finding needle in a haystack at this point. But all right, who wants to go first on this one?
I do. I definitely want to throw out.
Jamie wants to get one out just in case. All right.
We talked about it. Stone dropped it last week. Justin Jefferson has not been picked yet. Yep. He's at 120. It's not great value, but we just talked about it. If you're going to throw it to anyone, you're going to throw it to Justin Jefferson. Hopefully they get one. I mean, if the game turns into a blowout because the QB sucks, they might just get an easy one.
Love it. Yeah, I can't believe he's not on the board.
That was on my list, but I couldn't go first again after I sniped last week. All
right, what did you get? Or do you want me to go next?
You can go ahead. I'll go last.
All right, so the guy that I have is it's a lot going on here. So I don't want to. It's asking a lot. I think that this kind of relates back to the Lamar for MVP. I like Isaiah Likely to get a touchdown this week. He always seems to be near the ball. He's at least always in the mix to get targets. He's been going over his number every single week. He's eventually going to find the end zone. He does every now and then. It's at plus 260. Wow. So that's a lot of value for someone who probably blends in. You could even consider him close to a wide receiver 1 for him. So I'm taking that.
He was 2 yards short last week. I mean, he caught a ball and got it down to the 2 yards. That close. They definitely look for him in the end zone. That's a great one.
Yep, I like that one a lot.
All right. You said we're missing a lot of players, but I'm looking through the list and we got a lot of people we can choose from that are still really good. So Stephon Diggs hasn't been picked. Mike Evans hasn't been picked. Alvin Kamara hasn't been picked. Just an initial look. There's still people left for next week.
Man, you're really crushing it, right?
For this week, I'm taking Mike Evans.
Yep.
LaShawn, what's his name? Lattimore, whatever. The corner for the Saints. He's supposed to be injured this week, and usually him and Evans have a history, and Lattimore tends to shut him down, but he's out injured. Evans is gonna score a touchdown, and Tampa Bay's been on fire.
That's good. I'm glad you didn't take Kamara. I tried to tell Connor last week not to take ETN versus Tampa Bay.
Not
Dax versus Tampa Bay, man. They shut them down.
For the other kind of challenge that we're doing this season, I had that game and I was 0-6. I didn't get us any of it right. Excuse me. What number did you get on that, Stone?
For plus 105.
Plus 105 is good. So that'll put us at plus 1,200 if we hit this. That'll carry us close. We got to hit one more so we can get through the season. If we don't hit one more, we're going to be in the red, and that's not going to be okay because we've been in the green since week 2. So, anything else? Any highlights? Big ticket items? Anybody has to chat about or anything before we sign off?
I hope the Cowboys lose again. I mean,
Mm.
that's
Yeah.
about.
It's always a good day when the Cowboys lose, and they're playing a good team, so you never know.
Yeah, they're fake.
Yep.
Yeah, they're
I
fake.
was considering that line, but it's in Dallas, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. Lions coming off of like a little bit of a celebration too from the division. It's like,
I mean, they're still in contention for the 1 seed, which is like why I was looking at that, but I think
yeah.
yeah.
Just because the Eagles, man, if the Eagles lost for a month straight, like if the Eagles had won one game, they'd have
Yeah,
this.
that was crazy. Also, the fact that there's like only one game on Saturday this week after giving us 3 weeks of Saturday games is 2 weeks of Saturday games, kind of scumbaggy. How you gonna put us in this position holiday weekend and then take it away? It's just
Oh my gosh,
go back to bowl season. I mean, I guess that's what we're doing today.
Monday's not good enough for you.
Are there big bowl games today? That might be why.
There's a bunch. Yeah, there's a bunch of bowl games today. A bunch of ranked bowl games. Nothing for the playoff. But anyway, hey, thanks for joining us. We only have, I think, three left for the remainder of the season. That's 70. Yep, 3 left. So only 2 regular season weeks left. So far, so good. I know not everybody's been winning, but gamble responsibly. Thanks for joining us. We'll see everyone next week.